Hello, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Criterion, this side of Christmas, and we take a look at a Janus Contemporary release directed by Ryusuke Hamaguchi. Evil Does Not Exist. First of all, can I thank all our subscribers for the channel. It recently hit 1,000 subscribers. That's in fact double what we were at the beginning of 2024. And as we move towards 2025, Let's Talk Criterion will also be celebrating 5 years on YouTube next January. So now to the title we're covering on this edition. Ryusuke Hamaguchi enjoyed great critical success and award recognition with his film Drive My Car. In 2023, he directed a drama also written by himself with a cast of non-professional actors. The film follows a single father who lives in a village that is disrupted by a real estate project and the consequences that the development work will have on the local environment. Now, the film was selected to compete for the Golden Lion at the 80th Venice International Film Festival, and it won the Grand Jury Prize and the Perpeski Award from the International Federation of Film Critics. It was also awarded Best Film at the 2023 BFI London Film Festival here in the UK. Now, from the outset, we have the score by Aiko Ishibashi, and we're drawn into the film with a long musical excerpt from that score, accompanied by a tracking shot, looking upward with a canopy of free branches feathered out like tributaries against the winter sky. Now, this gives a calming effect. It's like a scent, inviting us to breathe deep and immerse ourselves in this film. And then the score cuts out quite abruptly. We would do well to heed this, the blunt music edits, and their implicit foreshadowing. Mood can lie. Everything ends, and sometimes harshly. Mitsubishi is a community of just 6,000 people who live in symbiosis with their rural surroundings, and Takumi exemplifies this with his rustic lifestyle with intent forensic interest. Yoshio Kitakawa's camera observes him from a short distance as he goes through what seems to be his daily rituals: shopping, chopping firewood, collecting spring water for the local udon restaurant, and of course forgetting to pick up his little daughter, Hana, played in the film by Ryo Nishikawa from her school. Hana is happily a willful child who often tramps home on her own through the forest until her father catches up with her. Mitsubishi makes for an attractive tourist destination for many, and sure enough, a company called Playmode has acquired a package of land there, and they're anxious to develop it for glamorous camping, or in other words, a glamp site. Two Playmode reps, Takahashi, Ryuji Kozaka, and Mayuzumi, played by Ayaya Shibutani, come to the village to present development plans to the local community. They're slightly taken by surprise, however, when Takumi describes the detrimental effect that it will have on the quality of water in the local spring. Now, this scene is an example of local solidarity meeting corporate stonewalling, and there is set to be a conflict in the little tranquil community. Their boss is a comedically slick Yutz played by Yoshinori Miyata, who proposes to the duo that they try and co-opt Takumi, but Takumi's quiet confidence here has convinced the pair that they're on the wrong side, job or not. In a very funny scene, Takahashi asks if he can split some of Takumi's logs, and when he finally gets it, practically, proclaims himself a new man. Now, the story is one of fine detail rather than discernible grand actions, something that Hamaguchi does very well. So the main image here we build up from all these sedate, hypnotic fragments is one of fundamentally decent people, moving in the right direction and flowing with the stream, caring to find common ground with this outsider, and all this in spite of those broken music edits I mentioned earlier, and the occasional gunshot also that thuds daily from a faraway hillside when a hunt is on. Now, Hamaguchi began work on Evil Does Not Exist with the intention of creating a visual art piece to accompany the work of musician Aiko Ishibashi, who also composed the score for his film Drive My Car. Even expanded into a 106-minute feature film, Evil Does Not Exist retains the feeling of an abstract tone poem, more about what the viewer has to say in response than about anything the filmmaker puts on the screen. The moral obviousness here of the film's central conflict, therefore, feels like a trick, a sleight of hand, a dare to watch the film more closely. Evil is seen to exist in Hamaguchi's filmic world, where even the worst behaved characters are too richly and painfully human to be defined by clear moral boundaries. In his luminous earlier dramas, Happy Hour and Asako 1 and 2, he maps out a constellation of characters whose interactions begin in the realm of evasive pleasantries, but eventually they proceed slowly and thrillingly towards revelation and catharsis. There's an almost mathematical playfulness, too, to the way that Hamaguchi shuffles his characters, almost like cards, and identities and toys with repetition and substitution. But this film, of course, he's done something new, which is to abandon himself and set out into nature, in search of fresh air and new ideas. Now, the film was originally a 13-minute treatment with an electronic score devised by Aiko Ishibashi, which would be performed live, but it was eventually blown out to be a cinematic presentation instead and extended to 106 minutes running time. Now, this is Omike's screen acting debut. It's curiously appropriate casting as well. How Hamaguchi handles even the most banal conversations are somehow engaging in the film. It spends an inordinate amount of time, for instance, observing a political debate taking place about the location of a proposed septic tank. And whilst not as satisfying as the director's last two films were, there's a jarring ending, for instance, that knocks the picture off balance, and this uneasy eco-parable, it's still very much worth your time, though. Evil Does Not Exist leans towards a folk horror tradition as Hamaguchi slowly pivots away from dispassionate naturalism, building to an impressionistic, opaque finale. And the provocation of the film's title also echoes through the woods, which the film begins in and ends in, regarding from below. Maybe that's what the title here is getting at. Maybe it's a whisper echoing through and from the ground itself about how foolish it is to believe that the earth, even in its stillness and beauty, has any regard for our moral attitude towards it. Maybe we ought to tread more carefully, be fearful in our taking. Maybe evil only matters because we're here to think about it. And when we're gone, maybe it will be too. Evil Does Not Exist comes via the Criterion Collection with a Meet the Director's feature and a trailer, and a fold-out leaflet, always, of course, with Janus Contemporary Blu-rays. Now, the nearest equivalent I can think of to this range of films is the Movie Collection, which also does similar style Blu-rays, and now, of course, 4K releases. In fact, they released Hamaguchi's Drive My Car in the UK, where it was a Criterion release, of course, in the US. Now, this film releases on Tuesday the 17th of December, just before Christmas, on Blu-ray. In the next edition of Let's Talk Criterion, that's our final edition, of course, before Christmas, we'll be taking a look at Eastern Condors from the legendary actor-director Sammo Hung. So, until then, from me, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.